someone writes, is the issue of freeing those incarcerated for marijuana-related issues going to be handled state by state? If so, how is Connecticut going to approach these individuals' needs for a new, fresh start? How is Massachusetts going to approach this? And so maybe you guys can think about how should these, not just Connecticut and Massachusetts, but how should these issues be approached? Of course, we talk about the fact that there are millions of Black men who are imprisoned for small amounts of marijuana. Not that I wish that we would do away with marijuana, but the thing is, we have Black people who are incarcerated for marijuana, and now you have white people today who are making millions doing quite the same thing. So what are your thoughts on that? And if you'd like to start. Correct.
First things first is you for Connecticut, you need to free them. I agree. Yeah, I'm an abolitionist as well anyway, but you need to free them. And then what you need to do is there needs to be, because the government enslaved them for that, they need to have a grant program specifically designed for marginalized people who were enslaved for selling marijuana. So that way they can have a grant to open up a dispensary to be able to do that. Because one of the issues, not even just with marijuana, but even with CBD, one of the big issues here in Connecticut, I know of, there's an activist who has been fighting for years to get CBD and marijuana legalized here. One of the biggest issues, she's a Black woman, is that even the Black and brown people who are free and trying to break into that market, they're shut out. They don't have they're not able to get the licensing and the permitting and the funding. So even after you free them, that's not enough. Then you need to have them a fast track. And when I say fast track, a fast track to licensing and permitting and all of those things, along with some money. And you don't get to determine, because that's the other thing that white supremacy likes to do. They like to say, we're going to give you this money, but we're going to put stipulations on it. No, it needs to be completely free. So, that to me is just what needs to happen. And it needs to happen now.
And so this is what we mean when you say so well, that it's not about the day off. It's not about giving people, everyone, the day off on Juneteenth, right? These are the things that need to be done to address the issues that continue to plague people of color, African Americans, and other people of color in this country. So, Dr. Tinson, would you? Oh, go ahead, honey.
Add one thing.
Yes.
As a Black woman who grew up between Jersey and Philly, you see drug dealers all the time. And so I come up in era, I'm almost 40, July 25th, 40. I come up in a time where drug dealers, and still they they were painted as these, and for selling, let's just focus on weed. They were painted as these hardcore criminals that you could not date, that you could not socialize with, that you could not, you couldn't go to school. If you went to school with them, you stayed far away from them. You couldn't bring them over to your house. We even have so many things have come up about with Black men selling weed, selling marijuana. Families have been broken up. Children have been told that their fathers are nothing. So I don't think that white supremacy, a lot of things they think is just simple. I don't think they understand just how deep the trauma goes. And so for me, this for me, it is white people smoking weed anyway. Even when it was legal, they were smoking and it was okay. But when Black people are doing it, we're demonized. And so they need to be free. Like they just need to be free now.
Absolutely. Dr. Tinson?
No, I agree wholeheartedly with all of that, you know, and I just think, and just to add to that, there's that internalized stigma, you know, based on the way in which we've been treated in this society, to where something that's even legal now, people still have a stigma associated with it. So it's kind of like, hey, stay away from that. But you're absolutely right in terms of the political economy of it. You know, some of these licenses, you had to have $500,000 to even start something. And so I knew a lot of people who, not personally, but I knew of people who were trying to corral partnerships of, you know, small business guys who were trying to go for these loans individually so that they could, you know, put all the money together and then apply for one of these licenses in the state of Massachusetts and elsewhere. So you know, so that's an access issue, right? Because who can walk into the bank and ask for $250,000? You know what I'm saying? Like, what does that look like? And who does that look like in our society? So that's a structural piece right there, right? So even if you wanted to get into that business, you're locked out, as Karen was just saying. So, but that's just one example of things. I have seen some progress being made by some professional athletes, and of course, the professional athletes, you know, they've earned, you know, a lot of money, and so some of them are actually going into the dispensary business. You know, I'm thinking about Paul Pierce. I could say all this stuff because it's on Instagram. You know, Paul Pierce, Matt Barnes, Al Harrington. These are all former NBA players who've really gone and studied how to get into the business, the dispensary business, and they've opened up shop. And so I think that there's some stuff there that where we can point to and say, hey, at least some affluent Black men are able to do it. But those three people in particular are also supporting what Corinne was just saying in terms of changing laws that incarcerated folk for this, right? So they're about both getting into the business side, but also the decriminalization side, which is important. So